Welcome back, traders, to another weekly Forexcast. All right, so I'm gonna get right to it. Starting with the dollar index, we see some nice potential setups coming in. I'm seeing how pairs and price ended last week. So, looking here on the dollar index, I mean, after price had this sell off from this same level of supply, right here, price rolled over. All right, gave us some good moves to the downside. Now, what price did, it shifted last week. All right. You see price came down here roughly around this demand level. All right. Price came down here and had a shift in price with a nice bullish impulsive wave. All right. So I'm still bullish on the dollar this week. All right. Price had a shift here, pretty much a double bottom. All right. Retest here and impulsive wave there. So this was just a correction. So I believe I expect this wave, understanding how the market moves in waves. I'm looking for this corrective wave here to continue, or this bullish flag to continue to roll up. All right, so I'm gonna continue and expecting the dollar, anticipating the dollar to continue to give us bullish waves from here. All right, and we can see how that plays out. So with Euro USD, you'll notice that some of these pairs are basically going to trade in line, all right, with the strength of the dollar. So if we look at here on Euro USD, how I actually if you followed the last weekly Forexcast and you see what I anticipated from up here, I was expecting price. All right, we had price tap out or roll over from this same level of resistance here. All right, seeing here on the daily, we had a nice pin bar rejection. All right, and then price rolled over from there. So we were able to catch that sell in VIP. All right, so if you're in, I would say adjust your stop loss, put your stop loss to break even, and let it ride if you're going to do that, because I am expecting some more drop to come, especially seeing you see how here on the daily chart, we had a nice shooting star rejection. All right, this daily candle closed shooting star with a nice wick rejection. So if we go down to the 4 hour, we can see structure clearly. Price had a high here. All right, broke down, pulled back slightly, and had an impulsive breakout. All right, so now the way structure is developing now, you can see that was the high. This was a lower high, and price formed a lower low in price right here. All right. So what price did is to end the week, it came back and retested previous structure. Was also this could be considered a lower high in price, but it retested previous structure there and rejected nice. So I'm expecting this to continue to roll over. So it's two different ways that you can look to trade this, or that I would look to trade this. All right. It's either wait for price to correct, give you some type of corrective move, maybe on a 1 hour or a smarter time frame, or on that correction, look to sell the breakdown of that correction. All right, either that, or you can wait for price to break structure, see if you give you a retest, and then catch that next move down. All right. So, but overall, I'm still bearish for another bearish move to the downside, really down towards this structure. Looking to the left, this support structure here. All right, so anywhere from 1.1770 to 1760-ish or 50-ish type area around there, I would look for price to come back into this area. Euro JPY. All right, so looking at EJ, you see price came to this same level of structure. Looking to the left. All right, this level of structure where price broke structure, retested, and continued. So this is a significant level of structure that price came back to. And you see here on the daily, we formed this bearish engulfing before rolling over. All right. So now, if we go down to the 4 hour, we can see structure clear. Price had a rising wedge. All right. And we broke out of that wedge with the double top. Right here, it formed a double top. Price formed a double top there, and we had that impulsive break. We had that breakdown of structure right here. So if you didn't catch this breakout, I was able to catch this breakout because once I saw price come up here, retest that high, and then form this impulsive bearish engulfing, or like this evening star type rejection, I was confident that price was going to continue to roll over after retesting that high with that type of price action. All right, and lo and behold, right here, pull back slightly, and then we had the breakout. So if you wasn't in that trade, that impulsive move, you will wait. It would be smart to wait for a pullback, or ideally a retest. A lot of times with a double top, you'll see price come back and retest this neckline structure of the double top. That's what price did. We had a nice correction retest, and boom, rejected, pulling away. So I'm still expecting this high of the retest to hold, and I'm looking for, anticipating more sales this week on Euro JPY. So this is one or two ways that you could trade it. Similar to EU, I would say either you can let a correction happen first and then catch that correction for a continued sell, all right, or let price break structure, forming a lower structure, and then maybe pull back and retest there and then continue to the downside, all right? So that's a way that I can look to trade that. This could come all the way back down towards 129.3, 129.2, around there. Roughly around there, price could potentially reverse or bounce. So once we get around these levels or 129, I would start to look to, close out, be mindful where price is at. So Euro CHF, just covering the Euro pairs that's on my watch list first. So you see here, if we look at Euro CHF on a daily, it's clearly in the downtrend, right? Clear in the downtrend. So we want to trade in line with structure. You see how price is forming these lower highs, clear, lower highs, lower lows, broke structure, right? Had a continued downtrend move, and now we had a bigger correction up. So on this correction up, price came and retested previous structure here. All right, that was support there, a support low, and also it was resistance over here. So that's a structure point to pay attention to. All right, and what price did, we had a nice rejecting our trend line, rejecting structure, but it didn't just reject, it rejected with a nice bearish engulfing. So this to me, especially with it being on the daily, that's showing me that price is clearly still sellers are in control. Excuse me, it's showing me that sellers are still in control. So with the type of impulsive breakdown of that, I'm looking for price to continue to roll over, especially had this trend line drawn. Price actually broke structure. We broke this higher low of structure right here. This was our break of structure. All right. So it's one or two ways you could trade this as well. I would say look for price, let price correct. All right. If price wants to correct up some more, all right, it could possibly correct a little higher on a higher correction. You could look for that opportunity to catch that on the pullback. If it was a pull up, then it probably want to possibly form a head and shoulders if it pull up. Because this could be the head, this could be the left shoulder. So if it pulls up more for a bigger pullback, it probably will form a head and shoulders or something like that before rolling over. All right. Or it can just roll over from right here because it broke structure. It slightly did retest right here. So if price starts to break down here, you can look to continue to just ride this wave to the downside. And looking at the daily, I mean, this could come all the way back down here to these lows around 1.07. All right. So all USD, looking at all USD, covered this on the last Forexcast as well. And you can see how price was making moves. I mean, I had this trend line drawn from this lower high to this lower high, and price came around that trend line around structure as well. We had an impulsive breakout. Okay. So now looking how price developed, if I go down to the 4 hour, you can see price had an impulsive breakdown below structure, came back in at the week retesting, all right, and had a rejection away, similar to all to EU and some of these other pairs. All right, so I'm still bearish on AU. You see we're pulling back now, but looking at how the daily closed, if I look at the daily chart, like price did form a shooting star. So I am leaning towards, this price retest to continue to roll over. We have to see how price is going to look on this retest because this could be, for me, this could be a pullback right here. This could be a correction to just continue to roll over. I would look for something like that on a pullback, an opportunity to catch continued sales, or if price was to break this low, look for a pullback or a retest for price to continue from there. All right. All JPY, similar as all JPY. With this, all JPY reached a structure point of resistance and had a nice impulsive rollover. All right, so we also was able to catch this sell. We was able to catch this sell in VIP as well. Right here, you can see price came up here, pretty much formed a double top right here. All right, evening star rejection here on the 4 hour, and then price started to break down, breaking below structure. So with a break below this structure, I'll look for some type of pullback correction and look for the continuation. So I had a slight pullback here, and the price continued down. All right, and then we continue to roll over. But after that, this also ended the week with another pullback towards structure and then a nice rejection away. All right, so I'm still leaning towards Still leading towards AJ to give us more move to the downside. All right, but first, before that happens, this could be pulling back, which is look like it's setting up for now. This probably will pull back for another correction before we get that continuation. So you also can take a trend line there. So with AJ, I would look for something like this. I would say, let price correct like it's doing. Price is going to correct itself. But on this correction, I believe, on this correction, I would look for a price to continue to potentially give me that another opportunity to roll over to the downside from there. All right, so looking at GU. All right, so on the weekly, if we look at GU came to this around this level of structure here. All right, if we look to the left, price has some supply rejection structure in here, rolled over. This weekly candle closed like a hanging man type candle, which could be a bearish indication. Price had a nice breakdown of structure, then it bounced back up to the structure and rejected, and then we pulled back another time. So where price is currently at, if we look at this price action on a 4-hour, I believe this could set up for another, a potential another move down. All right, if we look at this, price came up to the same level of resistance. All right, if we look on the 4-hour, price printed the evening star and had a nice rejection. So I would look for price to come down roughly back into this level. All right, back into this level of demand. This is an interesting level. All right, because price had a bounce from that level. So I would expect price to at least, even if it pulls back some first, roll back over down towards 1.378 to 1.377 at least. All right, but if price was to continue and break through that, then, you could possibly come lower. All right, but for like the most recent price, I do anticipate price to roll over. Give us another roll over here. All right, so looking at GJ. All right, on the weekly, GJ formed a doji, showing signs of, price indecision, potential price exhaustion after such a big move to the upside on a correction. Now, looking at this on the daily, price is still in the downtrend on the daily. All right, we can see these clear lower highs, right? It's clear lower highs of price. All right, I also had this trend line drawn up. You see price came up, it rejected nice off my trend line. All right, also it rejected around 152.5, 152.6, like around psychological areas. All right, and had a nice bearish shooting star rejection. So for me, that's showing some sign of price exhaustion with that type of wick ejection on the daily. All right. Now that wick itself is about 54, 55 pips. All right. So I am leaning toward potential sales. So if we go down to the 4-hour, you see price had a nice bearish engulfing, or not a bearish engulfing, an evening star rejection right here on the 4-hour and continue down. So with this, a way that I would look to trade this, I probably would look for some type of correction. On that correction, look for price to hold and look to potentially sell the breakdown, maybe of that bearish flag, the breakdown of that, and look for that to roll over. Either that, or you could wait, or you could look for price to break this higher low structure. If price was to break that higher low structure, you could catch the pullback, retest or so, and take it down further. All right, so it depends, because right now on the 4-hour, looking at the 4-hour and the daily, we are on an uptrend on the 4-hour and the daily. You know what I mean? But I think we could possibly see price, roll over. All right, but we could potentially see some type of correction happen first. So I would look for that correction, and on the correction, look for a potential opportunity to catch my shorts. All right, so we'll see how that develops going into Monday, going into Tuesday, London. All right, so looking at GA. GA is at an interesting level because, let's see here. All right, so looking at GA, if we look at most recent price, or if we look at, let's see, even if we look on a weekly, all right, price had a strong impulsive move away from this level, a breakdown, So I believe this is just a correction for maybe another continued bearish wave. But even if we look at the daily, price had a nice impulsive breakdown. All right, broke this structure. And then now we got a bigger correction up. So on this correction, I am looking for a potential another bearish wave. So I'll definitely going to be watching how GA react around this level. Because I mean, it's still possible for GA to give one more move up before it continues that move to the downside. So I will be watching this, all right, around this structure point. Now, if price was to, let's say, roll over from here, give a sharp sell-off, maybe break this higher low structure too. All right, then from there, I would look for a correction and sell off. So really for me to sell it, I most likely will have to see something like that. I would need to see a sharp breakdown of structure. All right, then I would look for a correction to take that move down. All right, if not, price could very much, this could be just a correction to give us one more wave up. All right, because here on the 4-hour price is in the uptrend on a 1 hour. You're also on a 4-hour on this correction. Price had a bigger correction, but we are coming around levels where price could respect, and roll over. So I will be watching this structure point to see how price react. But I would like to look, overall, I would like to look for more sales, but I just need to see structure, see how structure is going to react here. All right, looking at USD Cad, if we look at this on the daily, all right, on the daily, I mean, from these lows, price started forming uptrend structure, higher highs, higher lows, right? Higher highs, higher lows. And if we look at recent price on the daily, price formed like this pin bar rejection on the daily, strong rejection. All right, so if we go down to the 4-hour, for me, it's still looking like potential buys. All right, because right here, all right, this was a correction, basically, a correction down. Then price had an impulse move up, on this correction. Price had an impulse move up, basically forming a higher high. And then it pulled back here slightly. And you see it had another impulse move up. So, and then the weakness of CAD came in as well. So I'm looking at this right here. If we break this down, I'm looking at this. I'm still bullish here on USD CAD. So for me, I would like to see if price gives a nice correction opportunity, those could be a pullback to continue to go higher. Because with that type of price action on the daily, I'm definitely leaning toward more buys, especially looking at the rejection, where that rejection is at on the daily. Because you see where that rejection happened at. It rejected off a previous structure, right? Like structure here. So it rejected it as like we tested it as support. And we could look to take this potentially back up to these supply zones anywhere between 1.28 to like 1.283 or so, up into those levels. All right. So with a nice correction on USD CAD, look for something like that. All right. Either that or, if price continues to break through structure, and you don't get the type of correction you want, then you could look for a breakup. If it breaks structure, you had to wait for those pullback opportunities to catch it. So it all depends on how price is going to develop around this level. All right. And lastly, I'm going to end with gold. So looking at gold is at an interesting point. Now, if we look at the weekly price form, you see here on the weekly, price formed a big bearish engulfing. All right. We got a big bearish engulfing on the weekly right here. Big bearish engulfing. So for me, that's showing a sign that, it's still leaning towards sellers. All right. Now, if we look at the daily form like a shooting star right here. But it's at an interesting level, though. It's at a level where it could bounce, where it had previous buyers before. So you got to be careful. So the only way I would look to sell gold right here, because this could very much hold support and give us a move up before you catch any sell. So me, I would either need to see some type of correction first, a correction or a breaker structure. All right, one of the two. So let me see this real quick. All right, you can also look at this trend line, price had a breakdown there. So I would either need to see something like this, a correction up, right? On those corrections, look for those potential rejections back down. All right, or wait for a break of this structure and then look for the pullback or the retest to continue to take it down further. All right, so one of the two things there would need to happen for me on gold, because it's at an interesting level where it could still pull back first and then catch the opportunity up there, or wait for the break of structure. So we'll just have to see how price develop there. All right. So those are the pairs on my watch list for this week. If you're on VIP, I will keep you up to date. Be sure to like and subscribe. All right, stay up to date with, further analysis and opportunities, and if you're looking for that hands-on mentorship in the trading community, be sure to go to the fxwave.com and we'll help you out there. See you all in the next one.